All right, beauties, we are keeping going with a super fun and informative teaching to help you exactly today. And today I'm meeting with Rose. And I said, and as you know, January is listening. And I said to Rose, what do you want to talk about? She goes, we're going to talk about how we can listen to difficulty. And I'm like, wait, what? So I'm going to let Rose introduce herself and then we're going to go. Rose, welcome. Hi, beauty.
Hi, yeah, I'm Rose. Fantastically nerdy, incredibly curious, dog lover, past life healer, you name it. I want to go there. That's why I picked difficulty.
Yes. So my experience, 9 times out of 10, when we hit a difficulty, whether it's in our work, our job, our relationship, maybe it's a memory from our childhood, we often do two things. We will like just shove our head in the sand or spend a lot of energy trying to get rid of it, or we will basically oftentimes let it kind of define or rule our life. Like it's sort of like we become obsessed with it. So, what's your relationship with difficulty?
Yeah, I would say most of my life was sort of more of the first one. Things were really difficult, especially emotionally difficult, kind of a bury my head in the sand person, and then just like muscle through the situation. Sometimes huge pivotal moments of my life, that difficulty would carry with me and it would become sort of part of my personality. But when I listen to difficulty, that's when we come to a choice point. And a choice point is really where we get to choose how we want to live our lives, how we want to work with something, and we can meet our needs there. If we're doing one or two, ignoring or letting that define us, where's the space for our needs?
Right. I really like that because as you know, I always teach that choice point is actually my only sort of definition of sort of healing, if I can use that word. Because when people are in choice point, we're not reacting anymore. We get a chance to respond, and we actually get to decide how we want to move forward. I mean, there's stuff we can't fix.
Yeah, my diabetes, for example, I am a type 1 diabetic. I was diagnosed later in life, which is not completely unusual, but not something I was expecting at all. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune condition, so it's not managed through diet and exercise, it's managed through insulin injections. When I was first diagnosed with that, it took me years to accept that something lifelong was part of my body now and my life, and that's how I had to manage. And I basically ignored it to start with, which didn't help my health in general or my management of my diabetes. And then when I did start to pay attention to it, it started to define me for a while. I have diabetes and now I'm in relationship with my diabetes. And that's what listening to the difficulty can do. It puts you in relationship with something, whether that's a person, an illness, even yourself. If you don't have a relationship with it, you can't work with it.
So how do we get into relationship? How do we move away from like spending all this energy trying to pretending it's not happening or letting it become this identifying, this is who I am, right? Even our language, right? I was thinking about what you said about I have diabetes, but we call people diabetics, don't we? Or we say
Mm.
anxiety instead of sometimes I experience anxiety. This isn't who you are. So this is fascinating. So how do we do this? How do we get into this relationship with difficulty?
The first thing I want to say is you can have help. That's the very first thing that I don't think I realized for a really long time. I can have help with my difficulty. So whether that's counseling or a therapist, a trusted friend, family member, or healer, get help. Because when you're in a difficult situation, all your blinders are up and you're overstimulated. You're in a fight or flight. So get help. That's the very first thing that you do when you're trying to listen to your difficulty.
Okay. Okay. So I've gotten help. Now what? What's the next space of invitation here so that I can be in listening to the difficulty?
That's the crafting of the relationship. So now you want to view your difficulty as a teacher. You want to be able to sit at the feet of your difficulty and hear what it's trying to say to you. I want to give an example of personally, I've struggled with acne basically since I was a teenager. Something that I'm hideously and horribly embarrassed about still sometimes. And it's only when I've come to a point where I thought, this is teaching me something. What is this holding me back from doing? What is this making me do? What is this creating difficulty in relationships with other people? How is my acne shaping my life while I ignore it? And how am I letting it define me? When you start to ask those types of questions, instead of it being something that happens to you or a label that you have no control over, that's where those choice points start to come in that we mentioned to start with.
Whoa, this is like a nugget of goodness, like in like 5 minutes or less. It's like, holy shit. So this is really, really good. Okay, so I'm just going to do a really quick recap. Number one, the first thing is just recognizing the difficulty, and it's an invitation that we can learn and heal from and be in different relationship with, instead of just letting it define us or spending a lot of time running away from it. And then the two suggestions are: number one, to get help. A friend, a healer, a medicine person, a physician, a naturopath, it doesn't matter who it is, an energy healer, a tarot card reader. So get help. And then number two is then we actually get to sit and start to craft the relationship.
Mm-hmm. And you get a say in what that relationship looks like, just
No.
as much as your difficulty gets to be present. So that's hard for some people, but it's almost like if you treat it as a human being that you were conversing with, they're going to have their own thoughts, their own feelings, their own experiences that you can't control. Now, your difficulty might not have thoughts and experiences as we perceive them, but they will have a way that they show up that we can't control. So,
I really
how
like.
do we
Oh, sorry.
go
I
ahead?
just really like that you said that, because I think part of it too is I think sometimes people get this idea in their head that they always have to be healing. And so if you
Mhm.
treat it as a little bit more of a dynamic relationship, it makes it way easier. You're going to have time and space when you really want to work on something. And it's also okay to take a break.
Yeah, there is an ebb and flow to any relationship, including your relationship with your specific difficulty or difficulties. I'm not always working with my acne. I am not always working with my diabetes, but they are always with me in some way. So, and when I say working with them, I guess I mean consciously, because I am always unconsciously in relationship with them. So when I do decide to consciously tap in, or say I have a flare up of some kind, that's when I sit down, get quiet, get help, use the tools maybe that I've been given through my different supports, whether that's acupuncture, um, naturopath, therapist, healer, whatever that looks like for you. They're going to give you tools, so use them. And then be curious, ask your questions. And if you don't know how to hear the answers, that's okay. That's where you can use tarot cards, or
Or
that's where you
get
can
help.
ask for help. Yeah, exactly. Well,
Like,
and your tarot cards are part of your tool belt, perhaps, right? So when your healer gave you tools, what tools were they? That's part of your health. Just always keep thinking those tools help. They're part of my health. And
perfect.
there's no weakness or um, judgment in help when you're in a relationship with a trusted healer. There really is no judgment on you or how you need help. And that's actually a really important thing about who you're going to for help. If you're feeling really judged or you're feeling like it's not a safe space, maybe that's not the right person to help you for this particular difficulty.
That's right.
And then you can try something else. You have unlimited resources out there, and there's lots of free ways to help yourself. There's lots of different types of practitioners. Do the one that supports you and the one that you're going to go to. Don't pick somebody that you think you should see but don't want to see because you won't follow through with it.
Got
It's
it.
always about building that relationship with your healer just as much as it's building your relationship with your difficulty. For me, that's what I've learned life is about, building the relationship.
It's perfect. Okay, well, we're going to leave it there. These are short and sweet and juicy. So if anybody wants to connect with Rose, just fire me an email, Nadine@NadineRobinson.com. She's available for one-to-one and she does package healing. What's your favorite healing to do? Healing with animals, Akashic
Oh,
records? Where are we going? What's your fave?
I can't say I have a favorite. I just really love healing. Like that's my zone of genius. If there's animals involved, that's a bonus, I will say. We can go to your Akashic records with your animal. What past life did you live with your animal? That might be my favorite one, just
Okay,
because you get both.
I love it. All right, beauty. Thank you so much. Fire me an email if you guys want to connect with Rose. Nadine at NadineRobinson.com.